So in the last video we created a main menu here with buttons. I'm going to go to my assets here, right click, go to create, and I'm going to make a new folder called scripts. Now this video is essentially going to be our first foray into scripting. So I want to create as a first thing is a main menu so that when I click the start button it loads a level. So I'm going to right click and I'm going to create a new script, C# script, and I'm just going to call this main menu. Alright, so a couple things when you first get your script editor open. Mine is Visual Studio. You're going to notice that there's a bunch of words already here and it's going to feel a little confusing. So right off the bat, when you create a new class, which is essentially a blueprint that you would attach to a game object, and this class or the script is going to provide a bunch of functionality for your object. So if I expand this, you can see I have public class main menus. This is the main menu for this class or blueprint is going to be for some sort of main menu. I could have named this main menu hamburger or whatever I want within reason. There's some code conventions we're going to get into later. But for now I named it main menu because that's what it's going to control. You'll see that there's these weird just a bunch of words that don't make sense with some open close parameters or parentheses here and then some curly braces. These are called methods. And you can think of a method as a reusable block of code that we can call, and it has certain functionality. Now some methods, for instance these, which are located inside of our, we have these different other classes that are created by Unity, the folks at Unity, that provide functionality. So for instance, this void start method, if I was to type in print here, and I put hello from start, is really used for testing code out. So if I hit Control S to save that, we'll give it a second to compile. This script will now have the print from hello start in there, and since located in this method, well, let's see what this method does. Well, I'm going to drag this main menu script, and if you remember before I mentioned that you have objects, so this is our main menu object, and the class provides functionality for it. So in our main menu script here, if I was to press play, and I need to hit Control-Shift-C to open up my console, or I can go to Window, and I can go down to General and then open the console that way as well. You'll see when I press play, it actually printed what was in that text and it gives me the time in which it was printed and all that good stuff. And you can see it says hello from start. Now it only ran once, and the reason for that is start is a great place to say you want to initialize something. Like you want to say, okay, player health equals 100, and then at the very beginning when this player loads into the game, you are at 100. Well, there's this other method down here, so I'm just going to highlight this and hit Control-C and then Control-V, and I'm going to say hello from update, and I'm going to hit Control-S here. Update runs every single frame. So this also depends on the speed of your GPU and stuff like that, your frame rate. But let's go ahead and press play on this. So hitting Control-Shift and C again to open my console once this is done. And I'm going to clear this out and I'm going to press play. And remember that timestamp from earlier, the 927? Well, now you can see that based on the frame rate, how many times this prints. So this is kind of cool that they provide these two things, and this is a great way of, like, for instance, checking player health, right? If a character is constantly being attacked in a variety of different ways, you can have a health variable in here that's always running. So for instance, let's go ahead and create a variable that could store health. So I'm just going to do a variable that stores an integer value, so I'm going to write int, and then I'm going to write health, and I'm going to hit a comma here. Now in start, I can say health equals 100. And then I can say, instead of print hello from start, I can put in here your health is, and then I can concatenate this by doing a plus sign and then just typing out the word health. And let's go ahead and hit Control-S to save that, and let's bring this down. And I'm going to clear out all this good stuff here once it's done compiling. I'm going to press play. And you can see here it says, hello from update. Actually, let's go ahead and pause. Let's pause this. Let's scroll all the way to the top. And you can see your health is 100. All right, now let's assume that our player is taking damage. So you can see print hello from update. Well, we can actually do some basic math. So I can say health equals health minus 1, semicolon. And then inside of here where it says print hello from health, you can say taking damage, colon, space, plus, and then we'll just put health in here. And you can see this runs once, so it's gonna give us a health value of 100. But let's see if this runs every frame and we're taking damage of -1. Let's see if that actually works. So I'm gonna go ahead and let's see. So if you see here, it not only went to 0, but it went negative. And to be honest with you, I would like it if it hits 0 to just maybe kick me out and you know, just say, hey, your player has please, you know, game over or something. So let's go back in here for a second, and we can do that by using something called a logic operator. And all of this, don't worry if this stuff is we're going to be doing a lot of this over and over again, so don't concern yourself too much if this is a little overwhelming. You're not expected to remember all of this right away. So a logic operator looks something like this. You're asking a question, and you're saying, if the following is true, if whatever is inside of here is true, I want to do something. I want to do this. So what we can say is, I'm going to copy this by hitting Control X to cut it, and I'm going to paste it. And what I'd like to check is, if health is greater than, right, 100, so if health is, oh, I'm sorry, greater or equal to 0 rather. So what we're saying here, and I want to space this out up here. If our health is greater than equal to 0, we're going to decrease health. So that what it's saying is, as long as it's bigger than 0 and it's or equal to 0, we're going to go ahead and do this. So let's save this and let's see what happens when we press play. Let's clear that out. Let's press play. And you can see here that it stopped at -1, so we might want to go greater than 0 instead of or equal to 0, because it actually ran. But notice it stopped and I'm still playing, right? So I'm still at, I hit my markers to 0 here. Okay, so let's try that greater than 0 and get rid of that equal. So as long as it's greater than 0, and let's clear this out and press play. Even better, stopped right at 0. Alright, so, well, this is great. We've now taken damage, but we'd like to let the person know, like, hey, you've been taking so much damage, you've died. And so there's another little operator here. It says else. And what it means is, when this stops being true, that means when health has officially, when this health is now greater than 0 and we've actually gone beyond that, we want to do something else. We're actually just going to print out game over. So we'll type game over here. And I'm going to hit Control S, and let's go ahead and press play here. Let's clear this out and press play. And you can see game over, right? And it keeps running over and over again because we're checking every frame. Now, ideally, what you want to do is maybe just run another check so that it doesn't use up that much memory, but we're going to get into that stuff later. Alright, so that's kind of like a very basic introduction to these two methods they give you and a little bit about variables. Well, how do we actually use some methods to launch a scene? So what I'm going to do here is just kind of highlight these one at a time, so for clarity's sake, and delete them out. So now all we have is a very clean method here, and we're going to again use this for our main method. Now, as I mentioned before, start and update are used, they're located in another class. Now, there's another class called scene management, so I'm going to go ahead and hit Control D here to duplicate this. And then I'm going to put dot. I'm going to start typing the word scene, and the first thing that pops up is scene management. Now this thing is called IntelliSense. It's an amazing feature. I mean, it makes life so much easier. Now what I'd like to do is, if we push our start game button, I'd like it to, and this is this one right here, by the way. So this start right here. Once I click this in my menu, I'd like to have it load a level. So I'm just going to go ahead and notice in our scenes this is not our scenes, this is a dog, but here we go. Scenes, we have a main menu and then we have a sample scene. I'm going to right click in here. I'm just going to create a new scene. And here we go, scene. And I'm just going to call this level 1. So level 01, no space. I'm going to hit Control A to copy that because I'm probably going to use that exact spelling later. And so now we have a scene 1. So, alright, so let's go ahead and type scene manager dot load scene. Let's see if we can get this back. Oh, one thing I forgot. We need to create a method to load this in. So I'm just going to go public void start game. Let's make sure this is capital. And what we're going to do, and the reason we write the word public here is because we'd like to access this outside of the script. And now this will make a little bit more sense in a second. If we have these access operators, public, private, protected, and so forth, because there's sometimes we don't want other scripts to access something. In this one, we definitely want the button to be able to access the script, and we'll get into that in a second. So we're going to use a keyword called scene manager, again created by Unity. .load scene. And inside of here, all we're going to do is, in these quotes, is we're going to put the name level 01. I'm going to go ahead and hit Control S here. Let's shrink this down for a second. Now, I'm going to go into here and select my start button. And what you'll notice is when you select your start button, there's a bunch of attributes down here. And one of them is under the button section here. So let's shrink our image, our canvas, all this good stuff. It says on click list is empty. What that means is when I click on this, it wants to do something. And what I want to do is I want to access this MainMenu script that is attached to this canvas. So if I go to my start button here, I can actually grab that MainMenu canvas and drop it in here. And what it's doing here is it's saying, hey, is there a function or some sort of script that you created that you want to access? So a function and methods are used interchangeably. You're going to hear that a lot. So I was talking about they gave us methods, now we have functions. Sorry, let me go back so this is a little bit clearer. This can be called a method or a function. So if we want to comment this, this is a method or function that will load level 1. Let's make sure that we do this correct. 01. I'm going to go ahead and save that. And alright, so I'm going to go back to main menu, and now you can see we made a public variable called start game. If we would have made it private here, see it's called start game. And you know what I'm going to do? You can actually name this whatever you want, but start game Gumball, just so that it is a little bit clearer when we do it. But notice it says private void. Now if we go back in here, let's let it update for a second.
And we simply increase it by 1. So, plus 1. If we now save this and go into Unity, we of course need to make sure that we add our scenes to the queue. To do that, we go File, Build Settings, and here we have all the scenes in our build. First, we want to add our menu, so that has an index of 0, and we'll then add our game. Fine. So that's awesome. The next thing will throw debug.log, and the message will be quit. Again, let's go into Unity, let's select.
Alright, so maybe the next thing we want to do is, I don't know, like we want to create a quit button. That's always a good thing. So, and you could quit from the credits or whatever. So let's go in here and let's go to our background panel, and I'm just gonna duplicate that start button because I like that start button text the best. So Control D to duplicate, and I'm going to go ahead and hit W and just move this down here, and I'm going to rename this quit. All right, now on this on-click thing, I'm going to leave this main menu section here because we're going to be referencing that. But we're going to create another method where we're going to create another method inside of here. Let's Sorry, let me go ahead and change these both. Copy this. Let's change this to quit. There we go. And let's save this. Back in our script here, I'm going to actually hit enter here. I'm going to highlight all of this, and I'm going to hit Control D to duplicate this method so we don't have to rewrite all of it. And notice it gave me an error, and the reason for this is you can't have two methods with the same name. So I'm going to say quit game Gumball. And what I can do is there's a very simple command. It says application.quit. And there we go. So now when I press play here, and let's see, maximize on play is on. I can press quit down here. You could see that, oh, what did we do wrong? Well, one thing we did wrong is we never changed our, move this up as well so that it's more in our view. Grab our buttons. I might actually center this so that it sits more in the white. Alright, so back to our quit button. Down here, I'm going to change it from main menu start game to, let's see, quit game Gumball. So let's go ahead and hit Control S to save. I'm going to press play. And now when I click quit, you can see, well, if it was running an actual application, it would quit. But let's really test this out by just adding a string of text, like a print statement in here that just says game has quit. So print game has quit. Now we are going to build our game, and when we build our game, you'll actually see it quit because we're going to be making like a Windows version of our game. So let's clear this out. Let's press play here. And let's move this off to the side just so we can see it. And now when I click quit, you can see game has quit. So it actually is functioning. Alright, so the part of your assignment now that you're going to do is you're going to give all of the options and the credits buttons some functionality. So really what you're going to do is you're going to go in, you're going to make sure that your inside of this main menu script that we've created, which is not there, that's our scene, main menu script here. Let's go ahead and save it. I'm going to want you to create another variable that just loads a option scene, so something like this. So this method will load an option scene, and then this method will load a credit screen. So something like this, but I want you to create the scenes, and I want you, create the. So instead of level 01, this would be called, let's see, options scene, and then I want you to create another one called credit scene. All right, now, well, make sure there's no spacing either. And so when you go to create these scenes, I'm going to just copy that name. I'm going to go into my scenes folder, create a new scene, call it option scene, and then name this one credit scene. And then I'm going to add these two to my build settings here. And let's save that. And then when you go into the options scene, I want you to create some, just a bit generic sort of options menu, sound. Look up some on the internet, and then And then for the credit scene, I just want you to, same thing, go to UI, and notice the way you know you're in the correct scene is it says here. So if you go to UI and then you go to Canvas, you can add some elements. Let's go to, and part of the thing is I'd like you to do a little bit of research on your own. Here's on how to, like look up on, look up credit scenes in here. Let's see, we'll do credits, and then you're just have fun and expand the font size. And you can press Control D here, and then move that down, and then in the credits you have Tech Art, Alex the Margin. Maybe we could center this. So essentially what we're doing here is I want you all to just have fun, and I want you to just experiment and play around in this. And I also want you to do a little bit of research, like create another background for these scenes and stuff like that.